I want to thank everybody for joining us this morning. It occurred to me as I was getting ready, I said, having this meeting at 8 o'clock may not be the best thing for parents who might be trying to drive their kids to school from 8 o'clock to 8:30, 8:40. Shame on me. I'm a parent also, so I should know a little bit better. So for those that were inconvenienced by this time, I apologize for that. Luckily, we're recording, and I'm hoping that some uh, families will kind of use this as a podcast as they're driving in the car, maybe get it through the Bluetooth audio system and kind of hear some information about scheduling as you're coming to school. But we appreciate you taking the time to join us. This is always a meeting that we try to provide as much information as possible without overwhelming you. And I think the biggest takeaway that I want to stress today is this is a long process with a lot of support and help that we're going to give you. And I don't want you to feel like you have to know what the schedule looks like today, or even if you get a schedule set out over the next few weeks, we can change it, we can adjust it. We're going to be speaking to students in a group fashion. We're going to be speaking to students in small groups, individually, really hand-holding them through this process. And so I just want to, at the forefront, let you know that this is a not a slow process, but it's a gradual process with a lot of help. And so even though we're going to give you quite a bit of information, hopefully today, that's digestible, we don't want you stressing about the process. We're here to help you through it. And so with that, I'll kind of let the four of us introduce themselves. Hopefully Corey and I are not new faces to you. I'm Joe Fox, the director of middle and upper school. I graduated from Barstow in 2004. And Corey, you want to introduce yourself real quick? You're muted.
It would help if I unmuted myself. Hi, I'm Corey Gallagher. I'm the assistant director of the middle and upper school, and this is my third year at Barstow. My position here is really focused on helping your student to be as successful as they can be, especially as they transition into the upper school, which can be a little bit of a challenge, but we'll get them all through it safely. And so if you have questions about issues around academic support, time management, organization, making good decisions with their free time, I'm the person for that conversation next year, or this year, as the case may be.
And some newer faces that maybe you're less familiar with, David Kramer and Scott Hill, and I'll let them introduce themselves, but David's our director of academics, and Scott is our director of college counseling. David, you want to go first?
Sure. Like Joe said, I am the director of academics at Barstow School. This is my 16th year at the Barstow School. My primary role as director of academics is scheduling. And this is, I believe, my 14th year of scheduling. Let's see. In addition to being director of academics, I'm also the chair of the mathematics departments in the upper school. I teach a full-time load worth of mathematics, so I'm kind of a twofer at the Barstow School. If you have any questions about the scheduling process or anything related to academics, particularly in the upper school, I'm a good resource for that. I'm going to be somebody who you'll have a lot of electronic contact with, most likely, where you'll submit course requests, where you'll make course adjustments, changes in schedules, and eventually, hopefully, your child will take a math course from me and you'll have a completely different relationship at that point. Anyway, thank you all for being here this morning.
Go ahead,
Good morning.
Scott.
It's great to see everyone. My name is Scott Hill. I'm the director of college counseling here at Barstow. I'm also the AP coordinator. It looks like I'm senior member of the panel this morning. I've been here 21 years. I was Joe's college counselor back in the day, but I'm here to help you with the college search and application process, your child. If you Joe had mentioned it earlier, but if you walk away with one thing from this meeting, it's my cell phone number. So you guys are welcome to call me anytime or text me if you have questions. And that's what makes this process smooth, and it's an easy transition.
So we'll jump in and go through a little bit of information. We do want this to be fairly interactive, which I know can be difficult in a Zoom format. But as you have questions, you can unmute yourself and you can ask them as anything comes up. The chat function is also available, so you can chat any of us with questions. We look forward to getting back to a more traditional format. We normally have this in the Upper School Commons, where we kind of go over this information. And it's a pretty lively session with people asking a lot of questions. We hope that we get a fair amount of questions as we go through some of this information. What are we going to do over the next few minutes? We've already done the welcome and introductions. We're going to go over some basic scheduling information. And then we're going to talk about the completing course request forms and the process for how students will actually submit the courses that they want to take. Then we'll talk about scheduling nuance, some of those things that have come up over the years that can trip students up, or things that you all should be aware of as parents as we build the schedule. And hopefully there'll be plenty of time for questions at the end, but as they come up or as you digest all the information and you want to save your question till the end, I will make sure everybody gets their questions answered. So basic scheduling information. The upper school schedule is going to look fairly similar. And when I say schedule, I mean the day. What does the day look like? What classes are taken, things like that. It's going to look fairly similar to what students have experienced at the middle school level, probably with a few small changes. Before COVID, we had mainly 50-minute classes on a rotating basis. That was a nice opportunity. 50 minutes was kind of a good time frame for students to take 6 out of 8 classes normally on a Tuesday through Friday. And as you know, for COVID, we've gone to more of a block schedule, 90 minutes, 1, 2, 3, 4 on one day, 5 through 8 the other day. I'm not sure what the schedule is going to look like post-COVID. And when that occurs. I've been getting a lot of feedback from faculty, from students, and from parents about what has been good about our block schedule, things that haven't been good. There's some aspects of the block schedule that people really like. There are some aspects of the block schedule that people don't like. I can really envision a kind of schedule that is a little bit of a hybrid between what we've done in the past and what we are currently doing, where we have some longer class periods built into the kind of smaller 50-minute classes we had in the past. I think the biggest thing that people have missed is the rotation of a schedule. And so I look forward to adding some more rotation back into our daily schedule. But there's a lot of things that we need to consider moving forward over the next few months: food service, current landscape of what COVID looks like. What I can tell you is there will be 8 class periods. And that's really the biggest thing to know when selecting classes. We're not making any major changes to the number of classes that students take. There will be 8 periods that meet throughout the year. And so that's kind of what's going to inform most of our scheduling. I want to make sure that everybody has seen the course catalog. Now I know that over spring break, I'm sure that most of you did not dive in and read the course catalog cover to cover, nor should you. It's quite a document, but I want you to know it exists. It's in the email that I sent you last evening, and it's also posted on the middle and upper school resource board. We try to put all the information into this document to give you a clear picture as to what is expected and the courses that we offer and the requirements. And so this is kind of the catch-all document, and we've reformatted it this year to try to make it as easy as possible to find the key information, which we put right at the beginning of the document. So one of those first pieces of information are our graduation and departmental requirements. So at Barstow, we require 25 credits that are needed to graduate. These requirements have been in place for as long as I can remember. These are basically the same requirements for the most part that I had when I was a student. I think the best part about the requirements is they're structured. They work well. We know what students need at the college level when they apply to colleges. They give enough freedom to students that by 10th and then 11th and 12th grade, students are working largely towards fulfilling all those requirements, but they also have a lot of freedom in their schedule where they can explore and take classes in avenues they're passionate about, or they can delve deeply into, if they're really interested in science, they can take a lot of science classes, or if they want to try a bunch of different courses, they can have that experience as well. So 25 credits required for graduation. Every student every year takes an English class. Every student every year takes a math class. We require 3 credits of science. It's biology in grade 9. It's physical science or chemistry in grade 10. And another year-long science course that students would preferably take in 11th grade. We always like when students get graduation requirements done as quickly as possible. every once in a while, a student will say, I don't want to take a science in grade 11. I want to take it in grade 12. And then Dr. Kramer he'll bristle a little bit when he hears that, because we don't recommend that. And it will reduce the student's options as a senior, because we know they have to take that science course, and it might really affect the other classes that they want to take as well. Anything you want to mention about that, David?
No, I think you said we also have some students who that extra one additional credit. The best way to do it is just knock out a year-long course your junior year. We'll have students who want to go shopping and pick up a semester course here and a semester course there, and all they're doing is inviting problems into their schedule. By doing that, by saying I'll take a semester my junior year and then I'll see what I'll take my senior year, you're not going to be able to choose what you think you're going to be able to choose, because I can't create 3 sections of a semester-long elective. However, I can create 3 sections of a junior level year-long course.
And David's going to go into a little bit more of schedule creation, which is a magical process in and of itself here in a few minutes. Requirement-wise, we talked about English every year, math every year, science, biology, grade 9, physical science, chemistry, grade 10, 1 additional credit. History, ancient world history, grade 9, modern history, grade 10, U.S. history, grade 11. We have a ton of students that will take additional history and social science courses, particularly in grade 11 or 12. World language, we require 3 units, 3 credits in a world language. Most of our 8th graders coming into 9th grade are matriculating into the 2nd level of a language. That would be Spanish 2, French 2, Chinese 2. And they're with 3 units getting to normally the 4th level at a minimum, or maybe the AP level as they take the same language out into the future. Colleges love to see a student try to expand their language offerings as far as possible, which is why we require the 3 units. That can be a little tricky for students as our languages get a little bit harder. And so in our nuance section, we'll talk a little bit about the pitfalls sometimes of world language. The arts, we require 2 credits in the arts. A semester-long course that all 9th graders take is Art Fundamentals. And so that's 0.5 of the 2 required units. We also require that students take a semester of a performing art course. A lot of options in there. It can be Barstow Singers. It can be our ensemble course. It can be acting. We even consider our BTVN course performing art, because you're in front of the camera, performing for your peers 4 days out of the week when we do our normal news sessions. And so students are working towards the 2 credits throughout their 4 years. And again, we recommend that students are knocking out these requirements early, so we don't have a situation where a senior doesn't have their semester-long performing art credit, and now they don't have the same freedom in their schedule as a student that took a performing art in their 9th grade year and it's been taken care of and done. PE, we require 1 unit. We offer a strength and conditioning class that some students will take. You could take that 2 times throughout the 4 years and fulfill the requirement. We also give a credit for sports participation. So a student that plays spring baseball, spring girls soccer, fall girls golf, you play the sport, you get a half credit. Once you play 2 seasons of a sport, you get your 1 credit and you fulfilled the requirement. Students will mix and match. They'll do a season of a sport and they'll take a strength and conditioning class, get to 1 unit. Again, we wouldn't want to leave that until senior year as well. It's always too bad when a 12th grader has to take, 1 or 2 semesters of strength and conditioning because they haven't played any sports and they haven't fulfilled the 1 credit in PE. And then leadership and service learning, we give a half credit for completed community service hours. Normally, it's 80 hours of service completed through the 4 years of upper school. That's 20 hours a year that we would like the students to take. Of the 20 hours each year, 2 hours can be Barstow related, maybe working at a middle school soccer game, or working concessions, or helping around school, whatever it might be. 18 of the hours we want non-Barstow related with organizations and nonprofits in the community, hopefully the Kansas City community or more globally. And so when students complete those hours, They get a half credit put on their transcript at the spring semester of their senior year. We use a program, electronic program called X2Vol that tracks the hours and makes it easy to see where students stand. We haven't done anything with X2Vol or with our 8th graders rising into 9th grade with community service hours, because we don't want anybody pressured right now to complete hours with COVID. So our community service requirement has been suspended currently until we clear the pandemic, and then we will gradually get back to the 80-hour service requirement that we have had in years past. But it is there, and any community service done from the day that the 8th graders finish their year on that last Wednesday in May, from the next day forward, you can count those hours towards your 9th grade and upper school completion of hours. So until the students get registered in X2Vol, all you need to do is keep a log of the hours that you have earned. And then when we come back to school in 9th grade, we will get them set up in X2Vol and you can input the hours. And that's a fairly quick spectrum of the graduation requirements that we have here at Barstow and the departmental requirements that we want students to fulfill. Our mathematicians like Dr. Kramer will add up the departmental requirements and realize that it does not add up to 25. And that's because students are expected to take classes outside of our minimum departmental requirements. And that kind of speaks to some of the freedom that we provide students to really take classes in the areas that they want to pursue. Scott, Corey, anything I've missed out in terms of requirements that you've seen in past years?
No, I think just to rehash what Joe said, I mean, the upper school portfolio really begins the summer after 8th grade. So if you do have service opportunities that you can participate in your child, then that counts towards the Presidential Volunteer President's Service Award and other awards. But don't feel, due to COVID, don't feel like that you have to if that places your family in risk. But there are some opportunities available for service.
A couple questions that have come in through the chat. Is physics what juniors typically take for science? That's a great question. It really depends on each individual student. So I mentioned biology in grade 9, physical science, chemistry, grade 10. In 11th grade, we have students really branching out in the sciences. We have environmental science or environmental science AP, and we'll talk more about rigor in just a second. So that's one option. We have a lot of students continuing their chemistry studies and they're going into AP chemistry in 11th grade. We have a lot of students in 11th grade that are taking physics or physics honors. And so those are kind of the three main options. We rarely see a student that takes biology AP in grade 11. It can happen, but it doesn't always occur. A lot of students will save biology AP for grade 12. Now it's probably more traditional than anything else. It's also common for students to double up in sciences junior year if that's their area of passion. So we have a lot of juniors that are taking maybe AP chemistry and physics honors in 11th grade. And so, my long-winded answer is yes, physics is typically taken junior year. It can also be taken senior year if a student wanted to do that then. A lot of students are taking physics honors their junior year so that their senior year, they can take an AP physics or quantum physics, things like that. So they have goals beyond just our physics course. So that's kind of the timeline that we look at. One of the things I want to point your attention to, if I go back to our course catalog here, after the requirements, when we break it down into each department, we have a flow chart of progressions of courses. And so here's English. Let me go down to science. So we were just talking about science. So when we look here under science and what students take, this flow chart will hopefully show you some of the options that we have for students. So like I mentioned, biology into the 2 sophomore classes. And then when I say it branches out, this is kind of what I mean in some of the classes that students can take. And the black arrows indicate popular options, popular course tracks that students take. The light arrows indicate less traveled options that students take, but they're still available. They're still possibilities. And so each department in the course catalog has one of these flow charts. And so as you're kind of thinking to yourself, boy, what would a 4-year timeline look like? This is a really great place to go to see the courses that we offer and then when students would take these courses in their progression of 4 years. And then another thing I would call to your attention are some of these additional, this is like page 6. So we try to put this all kind of at the front of the course catalog, so it's available to you. You're not parsing through 40 pages to find these things. We have some additional resources here at the bottom. So required courses by grade level, the classes that every student is taking in 9th, 10th, 11th. Prerequisites for all of our classes. If you want to take physics honors, what classes do you have to take before physics honors? And then courses that are open to 9th grade students. And those are when students fill out the course request form, which David will talk about here in a few minutes. This is a really helpful resource to know what is available to you, because we'll have a lot of 9th graders, rising 8th graders into 9th graders that say, hey, one of the courses I want to take in 9th grade is AP Physics. But obviously they haven't taken the prerequisites needed for AP Physics. So they're not giving David the amount of choices that he needs to complete a schedule. All right. One of the last things I want to touch on here is, what does a sample schedule look like for a 9th grade student? Whoops, sorry. And so I mentioned everybody's taking English in 9th grade. Everybody's taking a math in 9th grade. Most of our 9th graders are taking either geometry or algebra 1. Biology, ancient world history, a language of some kind. I mentioned level 1 or level 2 in a language. So that's 5 courses right there. All students are taking art fundamentals, either their fall or spring semester. That's a 6th course, right? Students are going to need another semester long course at a minimum to fulfill their schedule. And some students are done right there their 9th grade year, because out of our 8 classes, we require students to take 6 or 7 classes. That means that students have 1 or 2 study halls, especially as they get started. It's some years students will take 6 courses and have 2 study halls. Some years students will take 7 courses and have 1 study hall. It all kind of depends on finding a good academic fit for each student. And it all depends on, what their appetite for academic challenges, what their extracurricular activities look like outside of school. So there's a lot of factors that are being added to. There are a lot of factors being added to what schedule a student takes. That's where Scott and Kaylin in the College Counseling Office are great resources, and I know Scott will talk about nuance in a few minutes. And so a lot of times people assume that by taking 6 classes, that's an easier course load. But like, I've seen many students take 5 AP classes in an honors class, and believe me, that's a very difficult course load. And so it all depends kind of on the classes that are being taken in the totality of a schedule. I have a question on the chat that says, do kids take 8 courses and have 0 study halls? That's a question that reminds me of my parents. That would have been they would have been saying to me, why do you have a study hall? It can happen. It has happened in the past. It requires my permission to do. Do I recommend it? Not always. It takes a special student to do that. It also depends what the classes are. When a student comes to me with a request like that, can I not have any study halls and take all 8 classes? I'm looking at, as a 9th grader, I'm going to probably say no, because we don't have a track record of success. However, 11th grade, 12th grade student does very well academically, knows what they're getting themselves into, has a plan for how they're going to be successful. Their extracurricular activities aren't over the top. That's a different conversation. I tend to say to students, yeah, if you want to give it a try, we can certainly try that. I don't want to paint the picture like it happens often. In the last 2 or 3 years, I've probably had 2 or 3 students come to me to request to take 8 courses. So I don't want anybody thinking that's what a lot of students do. It happens very rarely. And I would say all 4 of us don't recommend that for students, just because it can be a really, really tough course load. David,
Sure.
Scott, Corey, anything else?
Yeah, if I could just say really quick, freshman year kind of ends up being a year of exploration for most students, and they're trying a lot of new things. It's not unusual for a student who has not previously participated in a musical to suddenly find themselves recruited into the upper school musical. Or maybe a student who's never played baseball before finds all their friends are playing baseball, so they go out for the baseball team. One of the wonderful things about a Barstow education is that students are encouraged to try things that they don't have experience with and maybe aren't going to be the absolute tip top best student at, because those experiences are what make you a really awesome, well-rounded person. And a lot of that exploration is going to happen in the freshman year. It is entirely possible that your student will find themselves struggling to manage their time at some point in their freshman year. And the freshman teachers understand that and are expecting and looking for that possibility. All of which is to say that as you're thinking about an academic course load, obviously you want your student to be challenged, but I would just encourage everybody to be aware of the fact that students are going to be trying new things, having new experiences, probably overscheduling themselves, and that can make the freshman year a little bit of a challenge as your student is adjusting to life in the upper school.
Thank you, Corey. Those are good points. Let me turn it over to David, and he's going to jump into the scheduling process and course request forms.
All right, thanks, Joe. And I'll go ahead and grab the screen from you if I can. So good morning, everybody. Real quick, I want to echo what Joe said early on. There's a lot of information being trotted out today. It's the nature of the meeting, but keep in mind that this is a continuous process. Today, yesterday, I am processing scheduling changes for this year for year-long courses. We got 7 weeks left in the year, and we're still making scheduling adjustments. And that's maybe a little unusual, but it speaks to our flexibility. So all of the choices that you're gonna be making soon, whether it be course requests or extracurriculars or whatever that you're looking at, if you start to feel daunted by that, if your kid feels daunted by that, keep in mind, we've been doing this a long time. We have a lot of flexibility, and we have all kinds of ways to help people out down the road. Now, what would be most helpful to you from my point of view this morning is just what to expect in the near future. It's good to sit down and think about and talk about what you want to take 4 years from now. That's great. But what do you need to worry about or address when it comes to course requests this year? Well, the first step of the process, really, outside of these informational meetings, the meetings that we'll have with the 8th graders, either as a group, small groups, or individually, is paying attention to the course recommendations. All of the current 8th grade teachers who have been asked to provide a recommendation for your kids' courses next year have provided them. And behind the scenes, I've been entering a few thousand course recommendations onto my Barstow. So at some point in the not too distant future, probably the next week or so, your student will have access to a screen that looks like, and let's see if I can pull this off, that looks something like this. When they log into my Barstow, one of their tabs will say course request. Now, this is not an actual student login. This is my login. We don't have course requests enabled for students yet, so we have to see it from my side. This student doesn't actually exist. We don't have anybody named Ms. Student. That's not actually a person. This is a fictional student that we keep in the system to help troubleshoot and also to do demonstrations on things like this. So what I've done behind the scenes is I've populated their recommendations so you can see what they look like. So when your kid logs in the next week or so, we haven't pinned down the exact go date yet because we want to make sure they're ready before we turn it live. One of their tabs will be course requests. When they hit that tab, they won't have to hit manage. They'll be taken to a screen very similar to this one. Not exactly, but very similar. And so as they have worked out what courses they would like to take, here is one place where they enter them. Now you'll notice that we, meaning me, have already entered certain courses for them. I've taken the burden of choice away, right? Ancient world history, art fundamentals, biology, English, those are already chosen, they're good to go. They can't screw that up. I've also added recommendations for math and world language. And you might think that's kind of weird. Why do you have some courses built in where you require them and some courses built in to be recommended? Because frankly, these courses are more fluid. On rare occasion, we will have a student who wants to maybe have a longer conversation about their math course, or they want to have a longer conversation about their language course, or it may be a student like Ms. Student, where the teacher in good faith has recommended both Spanish 1 and Spanish 2 because it's not clear to them which would be better for the student. that student is right on the border, and they want to leave it up to a conversation, not just between the student and their parents, but also with the teacher as well. So if your kid logs in and they see more than one language course, that's an invitation to check in with the teacher you haven't already and have a longer conversation to help sort out what a better choice would be. So the student will have their requests and their recommendations already set, and this is how you access them. If you want to see what courses were recommended to your kid, you got to go through your kid. This is where they show up. That's why we enter them onto My Barstow. Then the student will have a list of, well, I want to take singers, and I want to take debate, and I want to take, all these other things. They will go here. Every course we have available next year is somewhere in a drop-down menu, and they just request them. Couldn't be easier. Now, here's the deal. The course request process that the student goes through, your kid goes through and enters all these courses into My Barstow, this is what builds the database so I don't have to do it. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't prioritize their electives. The course request form, we have a paper form, which I don't know if Joe's got a copy available to show you today. We have a paper form that's very helpful in just managing what course requests you need to come up with. What we require on this form is 8 choices for electives. And we do require all 8. It's because on rare occasion, a student simply can't get their first choice for elective. It just cannot be done. For whatever reason, there's a conflict in the schedule, I can't get around it, and so I need a second choice or a third choice. It is exceedingly rare for an incoming 9th grader that I will need to go to the 6th or 7th or 8th elective request, but it could happen, especially, and Joe pointed this out earlier, especially if the first 5 electives that the student chose are not possible, full stop. From time to time, we have a very ambitious student who thinks that they will request AP Physics, AP Chemistry, Quantum Physics, et cetera, in their 9th grade year, right? So those first 3 or 4 or 5 elective requests are of no use to me. I can't do anything with them. So this is where you enter your courses just en masse, right? You just put them all in. There's a secondary form, which will be a Google form. This is last year's, where the student will enter the same request again, but they will do it in a way that prioritizes their electives. It may seem redundant, and it is, I'll own it, it is a little redundant. The My Barstow form is just to build the database for my scheduling software. The Google form is so that I have a complete inventory of how the students want to rank their elective choices. This is last year's form. You can see I got 248 responses. 248 times 13 equals a lot. I then take all these course requests, and every year I build a brand new schedule from the ground up. Most schools have a timetable built in the spring where they already know which period will have which class, and they give it to the students and they say, figure it out. If ensemble meets at the same time as chemistry, tough. Figure it out. What we do instead at the Barstow School, and I've been doing it for 14 years, is I take all the course requests, I take every course down from my previous schedule, and I rebuild the entire upper school schedule one section at a time to minimize conflicts. We don't have a timetable. We build it entirely based upon course requests. Now, I just hit you with an absolute avalanche of information, jumping from screen to screen, pointing at buttons, drop-down menus, electives, So take a deep breath. We're going to have nice summary videos where we walk through this process in detail for everybody involved in the process. We're going to have meetings. And most importantly, we're going to have actual human contact and availability from anybody on the screen and the 8th grade team and teachers and advisors. And you get the idea. You've got nothing but support, time, and the best part, you can always change your mind. 7 weeks left in the year, and I'm still making scheduling changes. All right. Joe, are there any questions that came through the chat line?
No, I haven't received any about scheduling alone. I have another question that I'll cover a bit later, but I thought that was, thanks, David. That was, I thought you did a great job being very clear about a pretty complex issue. And, it's no small feat what David does every summer, coming in, blank page, he gets his is it big band music, David? What kind is it orchestral? What kind of music do you like to play in the summer?
I take my iPhone, I put it on shuffle, and it's about 4,000 songs.
There you go. I must just hear, or I must just hear orchestral music. But he's in there. He's the maestro, and he's creating. He's creating the schedule from a blank page, and that's no small feat. And we appreciate everything that he does. And he's not only building it, he's also making changes to it as these 9th grade students talk to their friends. Hey, what are you thinking about taking? Oh, robotics? Yeah, I want to take that too. They email Dr. Kramer. They say, hey, I know my first choice was Beeline. Now it's upper school makers. And he has to deal with those adjustments too. So it's a very drawn out process.
Yep.
I am going to bring my screen back up and throw it to Scott Hill, who is going to cover some of the nuances of scheduling. Go ahead, Scott.
First of all, I just want to say kudos to Joe and Corey. This course curriculum guide this year is just simply amazing. It's always got really good information, but I guess we should probably thank Todd Race also. But it looks clean. All the information is there. While it might seem a little bit thick, it's there and it's great. So good job, Joe and Corey. I just want to jump
that's all Joe, buddy.
And I'm not taking credit. I'm going to give credit to communications. Todd and Lisa did a great job formatting it.
Unbelievable. So, we'd already kind of touched on a few of these things, but I thought I would go into a little bit more detail. First of all, I want to backtrack a little bit to make sure everyone realizes we have 3 levels of coursework here at Barstow. And maybe it was mentioned earlier, but we have college prep, we have honors, and then we have advanced placement / honors college. So now on the advanced placement / honors college, it is the same way. Honors college is the same weight as AP. But AP is trademarked by the College Board. So we offer approximately 21 advanced placement courses. And then we have some Barstow coursework that we feel is at the same level as AP. So it's just as rigorous. So we give it the same weight, and we put that little designation at the back that's not trademarked, but it says HC, which is Honors College. Honors College examples might be advanced math topics, which is above calculus BC AP, quantum physics, which is concurrent or after physics C, mechanics, physics C, electricity and magnetism, etc. But why I want to loop around and talk about rigor in more detail is the fact that, it's all about fit. And this is the same process that we take in the college search and application process. When a student is looking at fit for college, we look at that academic, social, and financial fit. Well, certainly at the high school level, we want to do the same thing. We want to look at that fit. So there will be some students in the upper school that take college prep all 4 years, and that is fine. And then there'll be a mixture of students taking college prep and honors and maybe dabbling in AP. And then we'll have some students that are taking college prep, multiple honors, and multiple APs. And so the thing is, it's all about that fit. Now, the thing is, here at Barstow, there's a lot of positive peer pressure. You see your friends taking an AP World History sophomore year, and you say, hey, I'm smart enough to do that, and I really excel freshman year. I want to take that also. And you've seen the teacher recommendation from freshman year, and you say, hey, I'm qualified to enroll in that. But the thing is, you've got to be careful. There are some students here that can, I brag that we can stretch even the brightest students, and I feel like we can. But some students, like Joe had mentioned earlier, might end up in their senior year in 5 or 6 APs, and we definitely don't want that. Is unique. So we don't want all students feeling like, hey, I need to take honors or AP only when appropriate. Okay, because what happens when you take too much rigor? Well, a lot of times your GPA falls, and we know the freshman year is the foundation year of the Barstow transcript. We want to make sure that the students come in, get adjusted, join some extracurricular pursuits, have some leadership opportunities, participate in athletics and debate and robotics, but at the same time, we want them challenging themselves when possible. Now, I think David had mentioned earlier in the presentation, coming in 9th grade, seldom will we have a student in an AP in 9th grade, but it can happen. Maybe a computer science course, or typically maybe more rare is mathematics, maybe an AP calculus. But second semester freshman year, a student can take honors in English, history, and biology. So that would really be the first dabble for some students to take an honors course second semester freshman year. A little bit about course rigor, a little bit more in detail. Well, we know that course rigor is one of the main college admission factors. GPA is the number one college admission factor. Then we have rigor of curriculum. Is the student, each student is judged within the context of the school they attend and the opportunities afforded to him or her. So are they taking advantage of what Barstow offers in some of these offerings? Okay. Then we have test scores as an admission factor. And then there's leadership, service, their college essay, letters of recommendation from faculty. All those things are admission factors. But, in light of the pandemic and most colleges going test optional, some of our students are applying to colleges without test scores, and that's okay. I think having a strong test score in the student's file is going to give them the most flexibility when applying. But, we saw tons of students this year that applied with a test score to some colleges and applied without a test score to some colleges. But when you apply without test scores, then it's going to be even more emphasis on obviously the GPA and the rigor of curriculum. Is the student taking advantage of what the high school offers? Okay. Physical education and arts, I think Joe did a great job of mentioning art fundamentals is required in the freshman year, but I've seen students that have to take that performing arts, fine art in second semester senior year because they didn't plan accordingly, and then that bumps them out of quantum physics or class that they, that is more important to them. So you've got to be careful on that. And two, I think you don't want to be playing baseball as a senior for your physical education credit when you're really not interested in baseball. So you want to try to knock the physical education and arts out. And the thing is, I don't want to act like that we want to knock arts out. For some students, arts is the primary reason they're here. And so that's great. And that's fantastic. And they take advantage of that. It's all about following your passion. We don't want every student to leave Barstow and say, well, Mr. Hill and Miss Anderson, said I had to take all these courses. We want student input. You get more flexibility each year in the upper school. And with that, you have, saying, I want to know what you're passionate about so I can help you form your schedule over 4 years. Language pitfalls and math pitfalls. Sometimes in the mathematics, I see students speeding up to slow down. So they attempt to take a BGO course over the summer, saying, I want to take math and knock out that, maybe it's geometry, I think we offer, or algebra 2 in the summertime. And then all of a sudden they get to their junior or senior year and they're like, there's really nothing else I want to take. And so it's like for that, certain student that wants to, advance their mathematics and they're strong in mathematics, that might be a great option. But for a student that's weaker in mathematics, to take the math in the summer is probably not a good option. Language, we have one of the most stringent world language requirements in the state of Missouri, I would argue. So that means that we require 3 units in the upper school. So that means if for students coming in, if they're coming in Spanish 2 or French 2 or Chinese 2, they would be going through at least, year 4. And for some students, that's pretty tough. That's why maybe a weaker student in the world languages wouldn't start out at Spanish 2 in 9th grade. They'd repeat Spanish 1, and that's completely fine. We talked about academic fit for each student, maybe taking honors or AP when appropriate. I do like to stretch students when we can, but like Joe said, there's a lot of factors involved. It's service, it's leadership opportunities, it's all kinds of athletics and robotics and debate. And debate is something that's year round. I mean, these students go to 4, 5, 6 week debate camps in the summertime. And so debate is a huge commitment. And I don't know, we really haven't talked too much about Barstow Global Online, BGO. It used to be our hybrid learning consortium, and we kind of switched gears last year. But students are able to take classes asynchronous in the summer. And we see students, I think the common pitfall on that would be usually students are very successful, but through BGO, they had summer, fall, or spring to complete the course once they started. And it's really hard given the curriculum that the students take during the school year and the rigor. If they complete the course in the summer, fantastic. I love it. When it bleeds into the fall and spring, it's usually the students are struggling because they have a full caseload of courses in the fall and spring.
Thanks, Scott. Just to touch on a couple of things that Scott mentioned and answer a couple of questions that have come in. Let's start with just BGO because Scott mentioned it last. That's our Barstow Global Online. They have a website. I will link it in here. It's probably one of the links that I left out. So when I send you these slides, you'll be able to click on the link and go directly there. We probably have, 20 or 20. Last year was a little bit, we had an uptick because I think there were not many summer options for students. So they were looking for some extracurricular opportunities, or in this case, academic opportunities. But we do offer online courses over the summer through Barstow Global Online. Ideally, they are completed in the summer. So we're talking about, about 10 weeks. It can range anything. We had ninth graders last year taking art fundamentals and completing that class, not necessarily to get it out of the way, but to enable them to start with like painting or drawing in their ninth grade year on campus. We have some students that want to take a math course over the summer. Like Scott mentioned, they might want to take geometry over the summer so that in ninth grade on campus, they're in Algebra 2 honors. I don't want to paint the picture again that it's really popular. We certainly have students do it. It was probably 20 or 25 students. And I'm talking about all upper school students, which is about 250. And we probably had, 20 to 25 last year taking an online course of some kind. As students get older, they'll take some more maybe AP coursework. We have AP psychology. We have AP comparative government. Some classes that we don't offer here on campus can be popular through BGO. It is asynchronous. What does that mean? It means that you're working at your own speed and pace through the content. So it's not as teacher directed as we would have here on campus. You are logging in, there are portals, and there's content for you to move through on your own with checks for understanding as you move through, and there's less teacher interaction than you would see on campus. Okay, so if I do want you to know it exists, I'll add the link in there. I think the key is student motivation to do well. I always tell rising ninth grade students, this course completed this summer will go on your transcript. There will be a grade. It is the first grade that is going to be on your Barstow transcript. The last thing you want to do is stub your toe, get a D or a C, and all of a sudden your GPA starting out in upper school is lower than what your potential is. We never want to see that happen. And so it's important that students that want to take a summer online course are motivated, they have the time available, and they're dead set on doing well. That's where Scott, David, myself, Corey, we're happy to talk probably more individually with any student that is thinking about taking a summer online course. But we have had students do it in the past, and many times they do very, very well. And we've also had students take it in the past that, like I mentioned, don't do as well. They have to withdraw, and it's a waste of money for them, or they don't do well, and it's a poor grade that starts their transcript. I have a question about honors and what the difference might look like in a ninth grade course. And I think that in ninth grade, it's a nice introduction to what a little bit of an increased rigor in an honors level course might be. We don't, other than math, in some cases, starting with Algebra 2, we don't always break students into a specific different class. So in English, in biology, in ancient world history, we have second semester the option for students to say, yeah, I want to try honors. They don't switch their schedule around. They stay in the same class. They're mixed in with college prep and honors students in the same class. And every class is a little bit different. The teachers will have different requirements for honors students than their college prep students. It can range from more work, like do honors students completing this project and college prep students are not. It can be more in-depth work. So instead of a 3-page paper, you're writing a 4 to 5-page paper. It can be even more nuanced in terms of the project. Maybe it's graded a little bit more strenuously at the honors level, or the number of citations in your paper is increased if you're taking an honors level course. So there's a lot of different things in there that would be required of an honor student when compared to a college prep student. And that's where the faculty, Lindsay Zimmerman, Terry Downs, John Root, they're spelling it out to students before they get to self-select. This is what honors looks like. This is what the parameters look like. And then students get to self-select if they want to try honors or stay in college prep. And so as we get into next year and we kind of start moving towards winter break, that's a great time to start having those conversations. And I would invite you to specifically have those conversations with the teachers, because they will give recommendations about what they think is best. Let's see. A couple more questions have come in. I have a question about what do study halls look like for ninth grade students? They take place in our Cove space, which is kind of right off the front entrance. They're proctored. Students, it's a quiet environment where students, they do have freedom. We're not standing over their shoulders, making sure that they're always working. It is a good opportunity for Corey to check in with students during their study hall time. And it is a quiet proctored learning environment. We don't want students in there, you know, aren't playing video games. They're not watching YouTube videos. They should be working on, you know, course expectations. After the first semester in normal times, that study hall turns into a free period for ninth grade students. And that's where students, that's some of the freedoms that we give students here that really, I think, make Barstow a unique and special place. Students, after their first semester of ninth grade, everything is going well. They're doing well academically. They're a good citizen here on campus. It turns into a free period. They don't have to report to the Cove space anymore. They can work outside. They can work in the hallways. They can be in the upper school commons. They can be in a classroom with a teacher that also tends to be free. They have the ability to be where they want on campus, you know, working with teachers, chatting with friends. So this is Corey has a phrase that I tend to steal. We're a high freedom, low structure environment. And I think it's one of the things that really make Barstow a special place. I have a parent that's asking, can you talk more about the leadership and service requirement? The 0.5 credit is given on the transcript for completion of 80 hours. And it might be different for your freshmen based on COVID and the number of hours that we require. But normally students complete their 80 hours. They're getting 0.5 credit on their transcript senior year. There's not a class that needs to be taken to get the 0.5 credit in leadership and service learning. It's just you complete the hours. We put the half credit on your transcript. Scott and Kaylin are normally putting that on the transcript a few weeks before graduation. And when we talk about completing, you know, we have some students that they complete 81 hours and, you know, or 80 hours on the number and they're done. They don't want to do any more community service, which is perfectly fine. We also have students that complete hundreds or thousands of hours throughout their 4 years. And we love that too. And so it's we talk about finding a good fit for some students. They get really passionate about various service opportunities, creating them themselves or working with organizations in the community or globally. And so it really can differentiate students in what they're doing from others. Yes, 2 hours are Barstow hours. That's can be working on campus, helping with athletic events, you know, working with, there's a ton of things that can be done. And 18 of the 20 hours should be non-Barstow affiliated. Most of the hours that students are completing are non-Barstow affiliated because we really want students getting into the community. Let's see. Scott Hill mentioned Presidential Service Awards. What is that and when does a student start to work on that? Go ahead, Scott.
Well, the President's Volunteer Service Award is based on the number of hours each student logs each year. And it's different based on the age of the student. So rising freshmen, they're 15 years old. I'm not quite sure of the numbers because this is usually handled by the deans, but it's typically, it's a lower amount for freshmen. So that's why if a student starts in the freshman for the summer after 8th grade, they should be able to get the President's Volunteer Service Award, you know, gold, silver, or bronze based on the number of hours. And we can certainly, Joe can get the contact information of who asked the question and we can send you that information with the specific number of hours. But the thing is, there's all different, you know, there's the President's Volunteer Service Award. Some students work towards the Congressional Gold Award, silver and bronze. That's more hours. It's more in depth. You know, so service, yeah. Joe had mentioned 18 hours, you know, 20 hours a year, 18 off campus, 2 on campus, but that's the bare minimum. A lot of students do a lot more than that. And the one thing I wanted to mention too, I know we're on time, on page, it looks like 59 of the course curriculum guide is that global scholar designation. I think that's important right now. in the most competitive college admissions year ever, we're seeing more colleges look for cross-cultural experiences, diversity, equity, inclusion, commitment in the community, things of that nature. So the thing is that Global Scholar designation, I was looking through the new course curriculum guide last night, and that along with CO, which is a little bit different, but that's where you can zero in on a certain area that you're passionate about. Those are great designations, and that's good to have on the high school transcript also.
Another,
Hopefully I answered your question about, we can get you the specific number of hours. I think when you're of age, meaning sophomore, junior, and senior year, I think the gold is around 250 hours. I'm thinking the silver is around 200 and the bronze is maybe 100 or something.
Yeah, and it differs by age. Like, 13 to 15 is one category, 15 to 17 is a different category. And then the number of hours that you complete, like Scott is saying, bronze, silver, gold. Lindsay Zimmerman is the contact about presidential service. And so she'll also be the 9th grade coordinator or 9th grade lead teacher next year. So you'll have plenty of correspondence with Lindsay, and she'll be able to provide all that information because she's the most knowledgeable about that process. Students are normally applying now for presidential service awards. So it's not something you necessarily have to worry about now or through the summer into the fall. You can be completing hours towards just getting service hours completed. And then around this time of the year, Lindsay starts sending students information and starts speaking with students in class about presidential service awards and applying for the presidential service award. And so we've kind of landed here on the last slide, questions and next steps. A lot of these things have come up. Scott mentioned additional programs, and that's the Global Scholars designation. That's our Certificate of Emphasis program. Those are, Certificate of Emphasis, I'd say the most popular area that students, it's an individual study that students want to delve into an area of passion and curiosity that maybe we don't offer here at Barstow. I've sat in on a few very creative and interesting co-presentations this year, mainly about music composition. So that give you an example, like a student very interested in writing their own music. And so they're pursuing original musical pieces that they're putting together. And so we connect them with a mentor, and they work towards fulfilling, that project throughout. It's a multiple year process. I'll just touch on Yearbook and Beeline. There's normally Beeline, you can just kind of put on Beeline is our student newspaper, sorry. Yearbook or Barstow Weathercock is our year-long yearbook that comes out every year. Beeline you can just sign up for on your course request form. Yearbook we only have one section, and so students are normally will apply or express interest to Corey. Corey is the yearbook advisor along with Dr. Root. So we will be getting 8th graders information about a yearbook application, and application sounds scary, but it's a pretty simple form. But they do need to kind of apply for yearbook, so we know that they have interest, and we know who the students who really want to, who really wants to be on the yearbook staff. Some good questions coming in. Is there programming classes offered in 9th grade? And do we offer blockchain coursework? We don't offer blockchain coursework specifically, although we're always looking for new courses. We do offer quite a few programming courses in my view. We have Python, which is a programming course that is open to 9th grade students. We have Java, open to 9th grade students. We have AP Computer Science A, which is offered, and we also have Computer Science Principles AP. So those are 4 programming computer science courses that we offer. They're not offered every single year. So they're kind of on a rotating basis. We basically have Python one year and Java the opposite year. And in the same way, we have Computer Science A one year and Computer Science Principles the next year. So a student can take a programming course every single year. Gavin Wood offers an artificial intelligence course that is new this year, that's been popular. I'm not sure how much programming goes on there. But we're trying to stay on the cutting edge of of programming and having students that are interested in that space have an opportunity to take part. One of our more popular extracurriculars that's growing in its popularity is called Cyber Patriot. Scott Daniel, our technology director, runs that student club. they get together. It's a competition, a programming competition where there are errors in the coding, and the students work through and under a time limit and try to figure out what errors are made. And the team, it's a national and international competition. The teams that can identify the most programming errors compared to the other teams move on to advanced levels of competition. We've done very well in that year after year.
And Joe,
Yep.
so next year, Computer Science A is being offered this year. So next year, Computer Science Principles AP will be offered. And the thing is, like Joe said, our cybersecurity club is top notch. It's one of the best in the state, probably best in the Midwest, and maybe one of the best in the country. So, and we want to encourage females also to enroll in Computer Science Principles and check out the prerequisite for it. It's not like the prerequisite for Computer Science A. So, we want a full class there.
Yes, thank you. We really appreciate the questions coming in. Great questions. How about this question is, how are decisions made about college prep versus honors versus AP? What does that process look like? Great question. 9th grade, self-selection. So students and families get to completely choose, what class they want to be in second semester. The teacher will tell you what it entails, and you will decide as a student or as a family, yes, let's try honors biology or honors English, honors in all 3 areas, or not, or we're going to stay college prep. That's a good fit for me. As David kind of alluded to, each year, a couple of weeks ago, we asked teachers to provide course recommendations for the following year. And so that normally happens in math, in language, and then it starts happening in English and in science and in history, those sorts of things. Because in 10th grade, in their modern history class, students will have 3 options: college prep, honors, or AP. And so we recommend a level to a student. I think you should be in honors. I think you should be in college prep. I think you should be in AP. Most of the time, because we get to know our students, I think one of the strengths of Barstow is we know our students really well. That's a great recommendation. Students roll right into it. Every once in a while, a student will be recommended for college prep and they say, I want to take honors. Or they were recommended for honors and they want to take AP. And then we normally have a conversation with the faculty member about their recommendation. My philosophy is, as long as a student knows what they're getting themselves into, and it could be difficult for them, if they want to give it a try, I tend to say, let's have it happen. That was my experience as a student. I was normally I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. And so I was not always recommended for higher level courses, but I like surrounding myself with talented people. And so I tended to be talking to people like Scott Hill quite a bit to say, hey, I know I don't belong in AP chemistry, but I want to give it a try anyway. And people were nice enough to say, go ahead. And I ended up having, maybe not getting the best grades, but having great experiences in those classes and being really impressed at what my peers could really, could get done.
I think Joe's being a little hard on himself. Joe was an excellent scholar. I'll say that. So, I'm saying he had a lot of talent around him, but he was really talented also.
Hey, Joe, real quick regarding the recommendations, everything works better if parents and students and teachers have all these conversations before course requests are made. What happens from time to time is that students and or parents will make a course request that's not the course recommendation, and then we have to sort it out after the fact. Because there are a few courses that require teacher approval to be part of. And so if I have a student who says, well, I'm just going to take AP, the teacher said honors, I'm just going to take AP because, I feel like I'm up to the challenge. That's great, except they didn't read the line that says they have to be recommended to the course. And so over the summer, I sent a series of emails back and forth, saying you can't be in the class because you don't have the recommendation. And it's just a hassle. So my recommendation, see what I did there? My recommendation is that you get your recommendations squared away with your requests before you turn the request in, just so you don't have to answer literally dozens of emails over the summer.
Perfect. So just to recap here, and I appreciate everybody. We've been on for a while. I always joke that you get me, David, and Scott in a room where we have to go at least an hour. We can't go shorter. What does the timeline look like? This is one of the rare times that we've done this where we've given parents information before students. So you have a little bit of a leg up right now. I haven't discussed with eighth grade students. The next step in the process, David, Scott, myself, Corey, we're going to get in front of the eighth grade students. We're going to go through some similar information. So you'll be able to have some conversations at home, and you'll be knowledgeable and the students will be knowledgeable. Wait a couple days. I'm working with Scott Goulden to figure out a lunchtime where I can get in front of the eighth grade students, give them the same information. So later in the week, early next week, when you start talking about scheduling at home with students, they'll know what you're talking about and they'll have the same information. Then we'll open up the course request process, as David alluded to. Students will start filling out that information. I like to go into each English class or science class in eighth grade and in smaller groups answer questions that people maybe aren't comfortable asking in a large group setting. And then as students are working on the forms at a more individual level, we're all available for questions about what I should take. It's a little bit easier at the ninth grade level. A lot of our upperclassmen will have more individualized meetings, but we're happy at the ninth grade level to also have meetings with you and your family about what can be taken. Okay. And so we will kind of over the next month and a half be going through this process of filling out forms, deciding what to take, getting information. The resource board will have this video recording and many other things posted so that you have a one-stop shop to get all the information that you need. And then David does his magic in the summer, and then August in my Barstow, the schedule will populate. And so that is when you get to see what classes you're in, what hours they occur. And so we used to print schedules and mail them, but most of the time with the amount of changes that David's making to schedules, by the time you received it in the mail, there ought to be a change to it. So we populated in My Barstow digitally, and it's there for everyone to see. And that's been a change that's gone well over the years. And so if you leave with one thing today, the 4 of us, Corey had to jump out to get the day started, but we're available for questions. We enjoy this process, even though it's, labor intensive and time intensive, because we do want our students to find the best academic fit for themselves. And we're here to help in that process. So I had a couple questions that came in late. I will email those people some answers, but I want to thank everybody for their time today. And I hope everybody had a great spring break. Thank you for joining us, coming back quickly and soaking up all the information with us. So I hope you have a great day and let us know as you have questions.
Thank you.